Good evening and welcome to the very first episode of the incredible, the intriguing, the powerful Talk Up, Talk Out, the voice of the youth amplified here on Talk Up, Talk Out. We don't believe in giving the youth a voice, amplifying the voice of the youth so that they are heard. Good evening. I'm your host, Lincoln Liking. Thank you so much for joining us this evening on this, as mentioned before, our very, very first episode. We have a lot in store for you this evening. And for this whole entire season, 13 wonderful episodes hearing from our young people on various topics, looking at dating and relationships, church hurt, apologetics. There are so many things that we'll be looking at this season on Talk Up, Talk Out, the voice of the youth amplified. And of course, I'm not here to be the only voice on the platform. We'll have a number of young people all over episodes sharing their thoughts because we want to hear from them. But of course, I'm going to take this opportunity to invite you to go ahead and share that link. If you're a pastor joining us, if you're a youth leader joining us on YouTube or online, go ahead and share that link. Go back to your church and promote this program every Thursday evening. Talk Up, Talk Out, the voice of the youth amplified. We will be sharing and hearing from our young people this season. And of course, joining me in this, the very first episode at Central Jamaica Conference, Pastor Dwayne Scott. Pastor Scott, good evening.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. It is a pleasure to be here with you as we talk up and talk out, amplifying the voice of our young people. And I must bring you greetings on behalf of our Central Jamaica Conference administration, our President, Pastor Neville Barrett, our Secretary, Pastor Howard Grant Landley, and our Treasurer, Ellen Roxwell Lawrence, along with our over 35,000 young people that make up Central Jamaica Conference. Pastor Liking, it's just a joy to be here. And we are hoping that as we go through these discussions, our young people will be empowered and encouraged to continue on this Christian journey, to use this opportunity, this platform, to share concerns and issues that quite a number of our young people are facing, and strategies and mechanisms to be able to overcome challenges or better handle situations. So it's a joy to be here, and we're looking forward to having that feedback. And as you have rightly said, those are online, please share the link with someone, let them know that yes or nice, this is where it is happening, and feel free to type in the chat your comments and your feedback as we seek to go through this experience. 13 episodes, and I am looking forward to everyone. And as we continue for this evening, we want to also introduce, Pastor Liking, a few of our young people that are here with us to participate in our experience for this evening. We have two bright sparks from Central Jamaica Conference. You should see them smiling, and they are looking forward to participating in our discussion this evening. Pastor Liking, as you are on, I know I'll turn over to you, and you will turn over to these two young people as we hear from them momentarily.
Yes, and Pastor Scott, I'm so happy that you highlighted the fact that we have some brilliant young people on.
Oh yes, oh yes.
With us this afternoon. I'm going to mention above, we're not about this. So our young people will be using that voice to introduce themselves this evening as we get into our topic this evening. And this evening, we're going to be looking at the whole issue of called to stay. And I'm going to invite first Jordan to introduce.
Good night, everyone. My name is Jordan Brown.
I'm going to ask, why is she still a Seventh-day Adventist?
Thank you. My name is Jordan Brown. I attend the Bendon SDA Church. And why am I still a Seventh-day Adventist? Well, that is because the relationship that I have with God. And that is very loaded in and of itself. As young as I am, I've gone through so many experiences that really have caused me to really cling to God. And what I've realized, looking at the various religions, looking at the various denominations, the Seventh-day Adventist Church is that church that has those Bible principles that I can say that really lines up with scripture. And looking into the history of the church and how it has progressed and developed over the time, I've you know I've understood that this is the place for me to be. And along with that and my personal relationship with God, I haven't heard God telling me, okay, Jordan, go to this other church or these other churches. No. So I'm a Seventh-day Adventist because of these things, the beliefs and the relationship that I have with God. That is why I'm still here.
Excellent, excellent. And ultimately, that is what is going to keep you with that living relationship with Jesus Christ. So we've heard from Jordan. Now we're going to hear from Tevon. Tevon, tell us about yourself and why are you still a Seventh-day Adventist? Why aren't you fled through the back door already? What's happening?
All right, good night, everyone. My name is Stephen Jackson, and I attend the Lucky Valley Seventh-day Adventist Church. To some of you, that might be somewhat of unfamiliar to you, that church, but it is in the rural side within the Bagby district. Yes. Why am I still a Seventh-day Adventist? I am kind of a young Seventh-day Adventist, so so far the journey has been good. The teachings that the church offers, I must say, is somewhat of what I was not getting at my previous church, and I must agree that with Jordan that they actually line up with what the Bible says. Especially as it relates to the Sabbath, because I'm from a Sunday worshiping background, and I must say, yes, the teachings mainly is one of the things that keep me in the church. And also, of course, we cannot leave out the relationship that I have with God. Yes, I might be stealing a few things from you, Jordan, but I can relate. Yes, the relationship that I have with God, trust me, if it wasn't for him, I'd probably be out somewhere. Trust me, communicating with him day to day, and he was telling you that, listen, you can't give up, you cannot let go of the mantle. You have to go on in his name, and you have those persons that would encourage you, them way there. Yes. So yes, that is why I'm still a Seventh-day Adventist and why I'm still here at in the church.
Pastor Liking, two beautiful responses to the questions that were just shared. Both our participants, panelists, Jordan and Tevon, gave us a little bit about them. One person from Spanish Town, one person from Bagby, and I'm so happy as they shared their experience why they still stay in the church. You recognize that it is a, a a joining of more than one reasons. The relationship with God, the support from family members and friends, and studying the word of God for themselves, and recognizing that they are on the right path. I will just hasten to say that, of course, the church that we are a part of is a church that we would have had are experiencing experiences in. And while we get into talking about the issues, there are probably things that we would have heard and seen that would make us want to be like, yeah, I'm not so sure. But they're standing firm on the principles of God. And so we want to commend them for that. And if I should go ahead and tease a little answer to the question as well, and I'll assure you will. I'm Dwayne Scott. Originally, my membership is at the Diamonica Seventh-day Adventist Church in Spanish Town, a lover of cricket. And I am here, a lover of cricket. Let me just say that again. And I'm here. I am in the church because definitely a combination of a few things that our youth leaders shared, the support from family members and friends, and we should not discount that. There are times in our experiences that we will feel as though, you know, we're down, we don't feel like coming, but because we have family members there, because we have friends there, say, oh, I'm gonna see you at church, or I'll go on for you, watch it, you know, kind of encourage you along the way. Of course, that walk that we have, that journey that we have with God, and of course the studying of the scripture and recognizing that this is the best place to be at this time. And so I want for those who are on YouTube and those who are on Zoom in the chat to also answer that question. Why are you still here? Why are you still in the church? We are looking at the topic called to stay. And when I introduced the topic to Jordan, Jordan was like, called to stay in church, and I was like, yes. And she's like, yes. That is so heavy, because we're talking about called by Almighty God out of the world to stay in the church amidst all of the challenges and the boat seeming to rock left, right, and center. And so called to stay, our young people are called to stay in the church and also to be agents of change in the church as well. And so we want to transition into our next question quickly, because we are only going for 1 hour, so we don't want to take up too much of the time. So we're looking at call to stay, and the next question that generally comes after we're talking about this topic is, what are some of the reasons, you know, why we believe that young people do leave? What are some of the realistic reasons why young people leave the church? And it's a question that we have been asking from Central Jamaica Conference for the past 3-4 months. Why are people leaving? And we've gone all over, from Manchester to Clarendon to St. Catherine, and we want to know the answer, and we love to hear from those, our two panelists, those who are in the chat. Why are people leaving? What are the statistics that are sharing about people leaving? Do you think people are leaving, young people are leaving the church? And if you do think so, why? So it's a twofold question. Do you think that youth are leaving the church? And, you know, if so, or if not, why do you respond that way? So that's the two-part question, Pastor Liking, as you come back in, that we'd love to hear from those who are on the panel, along with those who are in the chat. So we could take Jordan first, Pastor. Yes, we take Jordan first, and then move
on. Okay, so young people leave the church for many reasons.
Yes, excellent. You know, so often we talk about the aged as we'd like them to be, but in your position.
Oh, you can go right ahead, Jordan. I know Pastor is coming in and out a little bit, so you can go right ahead.
Okay, so young persons, they leave the church for many reasons. I was privileged to serve as youth leader for 2 years, and you know, during that time period, I was able to speak with some of the young persons who had, you know, not been so consistent, and some who had stopped coming. So my response is going to be coming from, you know, the answers that those young persons gave, and additionally information that I've known outside of that. And I know that some young persons leave the church because of dissatisfaction. They're not satisfied with what they probably see happening. There are not enough social, you know, programs for them. Some of them probably feel as if, you know, they're not necessarily understanding what is being taught. And some leave for that reason. Some leave because of lack of love, and that is a big one. They don't feel loved, they feel judged. Some of them feel like there are a lot of hypocritical persons in the church. And I know a lot of persons leave for that reason, seeing two-faced persons, somebody smiling in your face right now, but when they turn around is a totally different person. And a lot of young persons, they're young people keen, so they're going to be looking out at a lot of these things. So that's definitely, something. Some young persons see the church as a place of rules and rigidity. So that, I believe, is caused by, folks who maybe they have the best interest at heart, but they don't come off the right way. So I believe a lot of young persons become offended by how they're approached, and they feel like there is a lot of rigidity there, and it kind of causes them to be a bit standoffish, and they stop coming, not having friends. Young people, we love to have our friends around, and some young people leave the church because they don't really have anybody there. And not everyone is, strong backed and will stand on their own. Some of them need that, group of community or people around them. Some feel they can't reach the standards that are attained. Some leave because of hurt. Church hurt is a big thing. And a lot of young people leave because they may have been mistreated, some were betrayal of trust, and that has various stages to it. And there are all of these things. And some also leave because simply, and I know this may come off a bit harsh, but some leave because they're easily offended or thin-skinned. And that is a fact, we have to highlight that. And some also leave because they don't feel like they're a part of the church. They have no use there, no purpose, and they walk away because of these things. And sometimes when they walk away, nobody calls them back. So I mean, yeah. So these are some reasons that I know young persons leave the church, or they feel like people look down on them and these type of things. So that's what I've known so far.
Thank you so much, Jordan. Really appreciate it. Some very salient points. Let me hear from Tavon. You can jump in at this time, Tavon. Just to add to what Jordan has said. And I know Jordan is speaking up for her youth at Bendon, the experiences that she's had at Bendon. I want to hear from you, Tavon, as well, from your end. What are some of the reasons why your colleagues, your friends that you've heard, why they leave?
All right. So most of what Jordan had said is actually similar to what I had in mind. I was a youth leader last year for the Lucky Valley Church, and I normally like to speak to my young people. So I don't only speak to young people within my church, but I also go out in my district and ask, what's happening. Now, I remember speaking to two young persons within a church within my district, and they were saying to me that they feel as if they are not with the church or a part of the church, because what they're saying that is that they don't know what the church is about, right? They don't know about when you say the fundamental beliefs of the church, when you say the sanctuary message and all these things, they don't know these things, so they feel kind of left out, and they feel as if that, we as a church baptize them and just leave them there, right? A lot of persons really take that into consideration and actually don't come back, as what Jordan said, a lot of persons feel judged because, some young persons like to dress a certain way, though we know that there's a certain way that we have to dress to come to church. But, as young persons, we are young, so we're going to wear young people clothes come to church, right? So some persons might feel, offended by what an elderly probably has to say to them about their dressing. Some of them might even take it as a disrespect, and just say, listen, if I saw church people stay, I am not coming back here. Some persons are up leave because they don't get a chance to participate in programs. It's similar to being left out. They are not being used in their congregations. When they're there, they use the same persons over and over and over, but you don't sit to call Paul to say, come and read a scripture, Paul, or come to pray. You get what I'm saying? So a lot of persons feel left out where that is concerned as well. As what Jordan said again, the chitty chatty behind the back. Yes, that is a lot of that is something that burns young people hard, like a lot. Trust me, a lot. A lot of persons might be offended by what maybe just for incident, like something as what you said, they just want to correct you, so that you don't go in the wrong way, but they come off a bit strong, right? Some persons want to tell you that, all right, this is not how, protocols go, like this and that. And how they do it is like they give you the attitude and everything in one. And, they just, the young people just feel like, so you're not with the, you just want to get rid of them, So the young persons, tend to just, take that as a disrespect and feel offended over it. As we speak on, they doing the right thing, guiding. Some young people might think that their elders are not with them, right? Just like a simple mistake that the youth might have done, the elders might want to address it, but like how they address it or how they go about it might seem as if they're not with them, and then after which the elders address that problem, then here comes another one, then here comes another, and then it goes on and on. So the youth think that, they're not, the elders are not with them, and I think, as a church, we have to address these things, and try to fix them. Some persons, in the bad company, so that they kind of like, go with that. They want to, be with their friends, do what their friends do. They don't want to seem like the chicken or the wimp, so they do what their friends do, wear all sort of things and do all sort of things. Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of things. There is a lot of things. Just only to name a few. Yes.
Thank you so much, Tavon. I'm really appreciative of your input as it relates to why some of the reasons our young people leave the church. And I want to remind those who are on Zoom, I want to remind those who are in the chat that you can just jump in the chat, put your comments in the chat, so that we can read your feedback and also your input on the question why some of the young people, why a lot of our young people leave the church. I hear from Tavon and from Jordan, church hurt, the matter of church hurt, and how things are said and how things are approached as it relates to our young people. I hear the discussion as it relates to not feeling involved in the church activities, not being a part of the drive from the church, and not, and the church not having certain programs in place to cater to the needs of our young people, and the interest as well from our young people. So we see that there are quite a number of things that can cause our young people to leave the church. And John Paul says, through the ages, we hardly change our methods of reaching and treasuring our young people. And that is right. I think Pastor Fletcher, when we had our hyperlink talking about the same topic, he did say that we have been doing church the same way from he was a child. The same way we operate as it relates to church and the function of the church and how we execute worship services has always been the same way. And some of the times, because of that, as time goes and as things change, our young people, as they change with the time, also find, have that difficulty in allowing them to, to stay. And once again, remember, please drop the comments in the chat. We want to hear from you. I'll add just one thing to what Tavon and Jordan has said before we go to our next question, and that thing is lack of resources. Tavon and I had a conversation recently, and he spoke about the lack of resources is a big challenge, especially for youth from his side of the country, and that is something that we need to also highlight. Lack of resources, not necessarily not having the resources, and because of the lack of resources to go and secure those resources, sometimes our young people may leave our various churches. I've spoken a lot about BPO and how the rise of BPO has caused a lot of our young people to challenge their belief system as it relates to Sabbath, and challenge how they treat with the Sabbath. And so because of the rise of certain businesses, like in the BPO sector, we see a lot of our young people gravitating to those because they have to make a strong decision. Do I work to feed myself and my family, or do I break the Sabbath and ensure that I can take care of my responsibilities? And this is a number one, and I wouldn't say number one, but it's one of the major reasons why a lot of our young people will leave as relates to resources. And so as we relate to our young people, as we relate to those who are not coming, we have to we have to answer those questions. Why are they not coming? What is going on with them? And we want to take some comments in the chat. I know Pastor Lakin is coming on. So one person said, youths also leave because it's even deeper than friendship. They can't find a partner. And that's a very, very important point, a very profound point, when it comes down to not being able to find that life partner in your particular church. So boy, I have to go out and find somebody who can match up to what I am looking for. And I don't want to talk about relationships this evening because Jordan and Tevon, I know have a lot of comments. uh, a lot of comments as it relates to relationships. There's another comment here. Fundamentally, they were initially unsettled in the faith, so basically their foundation was sand. And I think that is also very profound. And I can, as a pastor, attribute that to a lot of, I'd say, evangelistic campaigns that we have. So let me clarify quickly, seeing that I'm online. When it comes down to evangelistic campaign, I'm talking about, we have crusades that we use to encourage persons to come. We'll have Bible instructors that work with persons in the field. But because Bible instructors generally would come into our church and work with persons, and then they come into the church, most times the Bible instructors leave, and then the individuals that came into the church didn't have anyone else outside of like a Bible instructor or someone that worked with them, and they don't find friends in church, they don't find a community in church, and eventually over time they leave. And that happens a lot in our church as well. And so it's very important, very critical that when we do have evangelistic campaign, that there is a mechanism to ensure that those who come, that they stay. I'm just a few more from the chat. Pastor Likin, I am seeing you. Let me see if we can take one more from the chat as well.
We have a few on YouTube as well.
Yes, one from YouTube. Someone says, I think young people are not encouraged by older members. Instead, they criticize them and they end up leaving. Worldly distractions. These are some of the reasons why persons may leave the church. When I see negativity in the church, I remember the wheat and the tears. Just know in his church, it is very similar. You are so right. You are so right. Persons are indicating on YouTube and also in the chat here that there are many reasons, various reasons why our young people may have a difficulty as it relates to staying in church, and they do leave. And so I want to thank you, Jordan. I want to thank you, Tavon. Pastor Larkin, are you able to come in and give your 2 cents before we go to the next question? All right, we're waiting on Pastor a little bit, but thank you so much for sharing, and feel free to type in the chat. And someone said, old habits die hard. And I would say, well, old fire easy to catch, old sticky to that. And so we want to pay attention to those as well. So we want to get to our next question. Thank you so much for your input, guys. Let's go to the next question, as we have just about 25 more minutes to go. And the next question is, what part do you think COVID-19 has played in the decline of our, you see the two of them rolling it back like, wow. What part do you think COVID-19 has played in the decline of attendance of our young people, those who we used to see for a good while, but we're not seeing anymore? What part, if you think any, has COVID-19 played? And then we'll take some more comments in the chat. Tevon will go first, and then Jordan.
All right. So COVID-19, this period, this very long period of lockdown, being at home, I personally feel that young people got comfortable staying at home, joining church online. When time you're hungry, you can always, put on the phone one side and go get something out of the fridge. Yeah, persons got comfortable at home. Though some young people don't like the online worshiping, because they're saying it's not similar to how church would be. Physically you can greet somebody. They said they don't like it, but for me it's just more of getting comfortable at home. And some persons, who don't like the online worship, and church was closed in the period, I think that they, tend to go out and break the Sabbath, and they actually go into the world and do worldly and stuff, So they end up not coming back to church. When you see them on the road, is either, they're partying with some person smoking or something, So I really think that that's one of the things that contributed towards them leaving. So basically, it restrained them from coming to church, to fellowship and all of that. The online thing wasn't working for them. Yes.
Thank you, Tavon. Jordan, Sister Brown, what role did COVID-19 play?
I believe it was twofold, just as Tavon somewhat expressed. One way that, it really, I saw somebody type sifting the wheat somewhat. So what it did was that it really brought a lot of comfort. You can be in your pajamas, nobody know, and you'd have to worry about pressing no clothes to go to church. You'd have to worry about taxi fare, or if you're going to be driving and getting up early to leave out again, just wake up at divine hour time, that type of thing, and nobody would see them walking in. So, just the thoughts that probably may be going through their mind. A lot of persons got, comfortable during this time. And what it really also did was that, at church, you normally have Sabbath school, divine hour, Bible class, AY, and you're at church, or you will go back to church. What it did was that, maybe they got tired of the screen and, just ended up doing something else later on in the evening, maybe hanging out with friends, find themselves watching a movie, not a Christian movie, getting into that side of things. And, just their minds weren't able to be fully focused on the Sabbath. And I find that coming out of that period, a lot of persons somewhat got stuck in that. And on the other side as well, a lot of our young persons that been on, they really didn't like the online thing. A lot of them wanted to be back at church, fellowshipping with their friends, with the brethren, just being face to face. and not necessarily in front of the screen, because they're on screen in school, on screen this time. But it was the reality of what the time period was, and we just really had to make do with that. And I believe some beauty came out of it, as in, reaching further out to persons. But what I really think is that it had a great impact on our young people. And it's, I'm just praying that as we come around, our young persons will, come back around. Those who haven't been, at church in attendance will come back around. And those who are coming out will just be more solidified in Christ.
Thank you so much. I hear you both speak to it being so much more comfortable to be at home than to hustle and the bustle of getting ready to come. And what we found interesting is that many persons were saying, man, I'm tired online, I'm tired online, I'm tired online. But when the opportunity came to come home, to come to church, it was like, I'm tired for come, so we can't bother come. And so you find, as someone said in the chat, we're going to read some of the comments in the chat, the shifting of the stand. So those who were not seriously, you'd say, grounded, it was a little bit harder for them to come. I remember one person saying to me, when I said to them, man, I hadn't seen you in a while. And the person said, Pastor, I'm not telling no lie. Me not there online and me not there at church. Me not there no way. And I appreciated that, because the person was honest to say that, there was a challenge. I got comfortable, and I would say many persons got comfortable for not coming, and persons assuming that they were online because they were not at church. And so we find that even though when the regulations were relaxed, people just found it easier to stay at home. And it has played I'd say a critical role in quite a number of our young people not coming back. Those you generally expect to come back, not coming back. Tevon, I see your hand. Let me take your hand and then we take some comments from the chat.
Yes, Pastor. All right. So I was going to say, remember that we have also established, from the beginning that some persons were not, rooted in the church. They don't really have a foundation. They were just there, just to come and talk with their friends, just to come and, to get rid of home for the day. Some persons were there for that purpose. So the COVID came back. When the COVID, sorry, it came one time. When the COVID came into play and they got to stay home, and they were saying, hey, online worship is okay, and if I'm not there, it doesn't matter, So like because of that, I think it put in their mind, that listen, you don't need to go nowhere. You don't need to go back nowhere. You see, because it's here right here on your phone screen. You can literally just take it up and look, and for the rest of the day, you can probably sleep. You can probably eat some sandwiches or watch Netflix or something, So it's more of not them having the foundation from before to be serious in church, and when the COVID came, it added to what was not there. Yes.
I love what you are saying. And we need to remember quickly that we're in a spiritual warfare. There's a battle for our attention. There's a battle for our time. And once the devil gets that time, that time, it's not something that he's going to just relinquish like that. Especially when it comes out to Sabbath, is that there's, especially when you're at home, it seems as though, okay, a special temptation on the Sabbath for me to make sure that I keep focus. And as you've rightly said, those who were not grounded, and when I say grounded, I'm not talking about grounded in just spirituality in terms of going to church. I'm talking about grounding as it relates to the importance of understanding why fellowshipping is important, why making an effort to come together to empower and to encourage each other is important. Church is not at a place. However, it is also important to understand that when you do come together, and you do worship, you do empower and encourage others as well to continue on the journey. So that is something that we want to underscore. And as you've rightly said, it just became easier. Persons just did not feel as though they needed to make that effort because they would worship at home. But if we're to be honest with ourselves, as we are discussing, persons who were home, not everyone were necessarily worshiping online. And that's where the problem was. Staying at home isn't the problem, it's the fact that when you're home, you're not worshiping as you probably lead people to believe. And that's something that we need to pay attention to. Someone spoke, let me just take some of the persons in the chat for a little bit. One person said, my 2 cents passed. Persons spend their time and money where their interests are. The truth is the church model that we have had for a long time does not cater to most of the interests of our young people. Sadly, this will not change because young people are not able to contribute as tangibly as the older persons. And we're getting to that question. Look at your question, Tevon and Jordan, because that's the other question, the involvement of our young people. Nicholas said, I think COVID basically shifted the sun. Those who were serious carried on, those who were shaky stopped. So it's basically showed us who need help to be settled and those who need encouragement to remain settled. And what I found interesting when it comes down to online meeting or physical church, it was the same few people that would come online at times and the same few people that would come at church. It's the same. So when it comes down to the faithfulness of persons, it was the same set of people. And that is also very interesting to pay attention to. Someone said, what about the youth's own personal desire? A very good point. I hardly hear that perspective. Oftentimes blaming the church or church leaders is not always the case. And that's something that we must point out. Sometimes it is not that some church leaders have not tried to encourage, to talk to, but you have some persons that fly high, fly low, them just can't bother. And as yeah, right, them just can't bother. And there are persons like that. And we need to balance the conversation by saying, whilst there are many things that the church has done or persons in church has done that cause a lot of our young people to leave, it is always a decision. So people can treat you terrible at church, Jordan, or things can happen at church, Tevon, but it is still a decision that you're making to leave. Because you can stay, you can decide to stay, but you sometimes persons decide to leave, and that's something that we must pay attention to because that is factual. It always comes down to the decision. Persons can't get to heaven, so sometimes we can't make what person say prevent us from going there, and that's just the reality. Let me take some other comments. The temptation to use the opportunity to use their gadgets is to do secular things. Yes, watching worship online, but maybe scores flash across the screen is also something that happens. The comment from Nicholas is COVID was a great opportunity to be alone with God. It's so unfortunate that many individuals did not seize the opportunity. The saying goes, the elite never let a good crisis go to waste. So should we as professed Christians, it was in the midst of crisis, the great disappointment was born. COVID presented an opportunity to search our hearts individually and build our relationship with God and be more settled in the faith. Profound. Thank you so much, Nicholas. And I'll have Jordan and Tevon respond to some of the comments before we get to the next question. And someone said, I was sick for 2 weeks and couldn't attend church. And believe me, when I was well, I tried. It was so hard to get up and leave the house, and I want to stay in and rest. It's very easy to get used to staying in because life is hectic. It takes devotion and dedication, and that is so true. And I want to just underscore the point to persons. It takes devotion, it takes dedication, and I want to remind you as well that you can do it with God as your helper and your keeper. And that is why a community becomes important. So I would have hoped that when our sister was not feeling so well, when Sister Allen was sick for 2 weeks, that we would have reached out to her, call her, hey, Wagwan, you all right? You want some soup? What is going on with you? You feel better? How your leg? That sort of thing. That is where a community becomes very important. Am I right, guys? I'll just have you comment on the comments that I've shared. Look for some in the YouTube chat, and then we will go to answering our final 2 questions before we go, as we have about 14 minutes to go. Let me see in the chat. Let me hear from Jordan and Tevon just to respond before we go.
I can definitely agree with Janika with, sometimes we get so comfortable because, the week is so hectic, you're online, school the whole time. Because I remember in the heat of 2021, I was youth leader. I was in final year of university. It was very hectic. So when I tell you some of the Sabbaths and I'm just home and I can just be on the laptop hosting church, it was a breeze as opposed to having to drive all the way up to church, and then you have to be trying to rally persons to come. You want to try call out the young people to AY, you're asking persons to do this, to do that. This person don't want to come out. And it's less, in a sense, it was less hectic because a young person could just log on. Some of them never even want to turn on the camera, but they logged on to, participate in the little slots, and it wasn't as hectic. So it takes more, energy, effort, and it's that sacrifice that is needed that we really have to put out there.
Agreed 100%. It takes sacrifice. Let me hear from Tevon.
All right. So I'm seeing somewhere in the chats where someone said going digital is good. No, wait, wrong one. Sorry. Something about the temptation to use the opportunity, use their gadgets to do secular things. Yes, that is so true. You can just be here on church, and when you look, there's this video at the side that you normally watch in the week. You just probably accidentally, quote unquote, accidentally click on that video and started to watch it. That is something that happens. I tend to say I cannot relate because I was one of the persons who did not like the online church thing. But I have this group. We sing and we also do ministry like preach and such. So what we normally do is meet up at one of their houses, and we will host church. But watch this now. I don't like the online church. However, I am willing to put on an online church for somebody. We normally host services, have an elder preach, sing songs, and little fellowship together. The online thing didn't work out for me. So I cannot really say that, I had been on online platform and clicked on a YouTube video, and also coming down to Janika's comment where she said she was sick for 2 weeks, and she was in the bed resting and such and such. I was sick. All right. Really and truly, I met in an accident on Friday the 13th, and I was in the hospital that night. The next day Sabbath, of course, and I was in so much pain and such and such. When the doctors checked me out and said I was okay, I was, all right, so can I go to church tomorrow? I asked them if I can go to church tomorrow, and they were like, no, you need rest. So with that being said, I was really upset that I didn't get to go to church, by the way. But with that being said, I think it's more of the person's interest, in church, and what they want to do for God, than to say, they are, just labor, because there's no way you can just do one for God. I cannot see not going to church on a Sabbath. If I cannot get a drive to go to my church, me I go around the road. I'm going up the road. I am finding Adventist church to go to. I am not staying home if I am well. If the rain is not falling, and when rain I fall, me still I got church. If I am well and there's no storm coming and the church is not closed, I am finding myself there. And my cousin and I, we are two in one. So the two of we, walking into a church. So I mean, it's more of the interest the young person has in church, and what they want to do for God, the mission that they want to go out, they want to serve God and all that. I believe it's based on that, to be honest.
I love that point that you just made, Tevon. I think, Jordan, you had your hand up. You wanted to comment. And after Jordan comments, we want to talk a little bit about how important we think involvement in church activities play. Because I see that because you are involved in church, it gives you this drive. Like you go to church and you have one reason where you go. You go, your participation is key for you, and you want to feel a part, you want to worship. And so we want to talk about how important they think involvement of our young people in worship and in leadership is. How important do you think that is into encouraging people to stay and encouraging persons to continue? And someone said, go on, hold it, Tevon. That's the spirit. Beautiful. Let me take Jordan. There are some comments in the chat, but let me take Jordan, and then we'll transition into that as we seek to wrap up.
Yes, I just wanted to add that a lot of times, during that COVID period while we were all online, and as you said, a lot of times persons, they probably log on, but their minds weren't necessarily tuned in, because a lot of times at home there's so many distractions from somebody calling you. You have you're on your device, so you're seeing messages coming in, you're responding to people, you're all over the place, so the mind is not so much in tune. I know not everybody, that didn't go the same for everybody, but a lot of persons that was the case, that there was a lot of distractions, and it's not the same type of distraction that you'd actually face being face to face at church and having the fellowship and the brethren there. So yeah, I just wanted to add that.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Jordan. You are on point. And there was a point that Tevon made that someone also alluded to, where Tevon spoke about the fact that, videos will pop up while you're worshiping online, and you have to be careful on that. And someone said in the YouTube chat that I must highlight, said that, it's also very important that you pay attention to what you feed yourself on during the course of the week, because when you feed yourself on certain things during the course of the week, it is not automatic for you to flip a switch and then Sabbath everything change. How YouTube stay, the algorithm is going to look at the trend of what you're watching. So before you get to church, it's gonna just show up all of the other things that you were watching right on the service. The very next video is what you're watching during the course of the week. So, and depending on the content of what you're watching during the course of the week, it may not necessarily be something that you should be watching on Sabbath. And then by just one click, you're there. Just one swipe, you're there. And so that's the problem. The problem is we also need to be careful as to the things that we're feeding ourselves with during the course of the week, because it does come back up on the Sabbath. And not only the matter of online church on Sabbath, but even now at church on Sabbath, if you're not careful, maybe by flipping on your phone, maybe TikTok will give you a notification, and maybe Instagram will give you a notification, those who have gone live and so forth. So you have to also, I would say, give yourself a little bit of a break from certain things on the Sabbath. That is day of rest. And I think it should also mean rest from a lot of other things. Someone said I really was tortured in COVID. I met and connected with so many, really toured during COVID. I met and connected with so many Adventists through various platforms, and really could have made the best of COVID. And I think that was also a very important point to make. COVID gave us an opportunity that quite a number of our young people made use of. Person said that someone online said young people, the moment they start to go to high school, maybe not enough attention is paid to church and more on the phone. I think someone has said, Miss Anderson, when persons baptize and they go into the church, we need to stop benching them and get them on the playing field. Someone said we would have reached out to young people time and time again, and they just did not want to come. And someone has said, by studying the Bible and taking part in the affairs of the church, and less social media, that could help. And so I want us to get to how important involves. So we're going to answers now. We just have about a few minutes to go, and I want for us to get to some suggestions. What are some of the things that churches can do? What are some of the things that pastors can do, the conference can do to help persons to come back home and those who are there to stay? Because we're looking at the topic called to stay. So in the next few moments, I want for you to share one, what role do you think involvement plays in persons staying in church and coming? And then two, what other suggestions would you have as it relates to encouraging our young people to stay in church? What are some of the things that the church can do? What are some of the things that the young people themselves can do to stay in the church in this very difficult time? So as we're wrapping up, that's the question, and that's an answer that I know a lot of our young people that are online really, really, really want to hear. So let me take Jordan, let me take Tavon. I'll come in as we seek to answer those questions and wrap up for this evening.
All right. So I think something that we can do more of, if it is that some churches aren't doing it, is to have heart-to-hearts. When I say heart-to-hearts, I mean one-on-one conversation with many of these young persons who are not there, or they may not be as frequent, someone who they trust, or just build that relationship and somewhat have a mentorship program going as well. I really believe that if we have a mentorship program within the churches, that would assist the young people a whole lot, because a lot of times young persons are going through so much. There are some things that they probably don't necessarily understand, and to have someone else there to be that bigger brother or a bigger sister to them, that really can help in their development. I really feel that having heart-to-heart with young people, rap sessions, even sessions like this, but having them speak out more and express themselves, and creating safe spaces for them to share their ideas, or share how they're feeling. A lot of times young people want to express themselves, but they don't feel safe. They feel like if they really share how they feel, the adults gonna run them, or gonna run them onto the church. And I really feel that if young persons had those safe spaces that they could share, they would feel more comfortable, and it would allow them to trust more and really break down those walls, so that they can really open up and build that family bonding relationship that we really need within our churches. And I feel that we need to have more programs, outside of the regular structure that young people can be involved in. Because one thing that I've realized, even in the 2 years serving, a lot of times I ask youth to participate. Some of them are like, no, they don't want to do that. They don't want to do call to worship. They don't want to do opening hymn. Oh, I cannot sing. I don't want to do the opening hymn. Nobody wants to do the scripture reading. Everybody probably wants to do some major role, or they see little things like, I shouldn't even say little, see the mindsets. They see things like scripture reading as, I don't really want to do that. I want to do something else. They probably don't even want to do the welcome. I don't feel like I'm welcoming. And somewhat their gifts are not necessarily being used. So I feel like having programs, even like drama or some speech or something that they can use their skills, you have more of those programs so that they can be more involved, and get them involved in making some of the church decisions. A lot of them feel left out, and I feel as if we involve the young people in these various things, it will cause them to be more involved and want to participate more. And have additional things, maybe, how to put it, have additional things, even, I probably wouldn't say in the week, because I know that some of our young people have school, but having those things that they can be more involved in and they feel more a part of. Yeah.
Awesome, Jordan. Tevon, your time, and I'm seeing the chat blowing up. Let me take a few persons in the chat, then I'll bring in Tevon. So there are 3 in the chat on Zoom. One person said, I think that what members, especially seasoned adults, can do for us is to share their story. Many adults have seen their youthful days being replayed before their very eyes by youth in the church. And instead of sharing with the youth the advantages and disadvantages of choices, and also how they overcame, they sometimes bash them and make them feel like outcasts. Profound. Sometimes we need to share our story. Because most of the experience, as the person shared, a lot of the experiences that our young people are having, persons would have walked along that road already. Maybe I too would have had, maybe you too would have had a child out of wedlock. Maybe you too had that struggle when it comes on to addictions. Maybe you too would have had certain challenges. But sometimes um, we relate to our young people as though we never have them the problem there yet. That is just baffling to me, and we treat them as though it is something that they must um they must adjust to. And so it's very important, as the person said, to share your story and that you overcame. One person said more emphasis needs to be placed on the social, emotional, physical development at an organizational level. Agree. And this ties back into the generational hurt that needs to be torn down. The wall of partition needs to be torn down. Agree 100%. Devon, let me take you, and then we'll take some comments from YouTube before we wrap up.
All right, so I am leaning more to the mentorship idea because I believe, well, I'm leaning towards the mentorship ideas. However, I believe that the youth themselves who are in the church today, who, are, don't want to say properly developed, but like, they have some experience, right? I think they should be the mentors, so that they can connect with the youth. As what my youth elder will say, when a young person and a young person can speak and connect with each other, it's a different level of communication and understanding going on there, right? Whereas you as an elderly, as a senior, senior adult or something, is speaking to a young person, you might not be understanding what the youth is saying or whatever, the challenge is, so I believe that this program should be in place, and the youths should be the mentors of the program, of the mentorship program. And of course, web sessions are good, to inform our youths of the different things in the different things that can help them develop. You can talk about marriage, you can talk about financial stuff. A lot of things are there, for the young persons who would like to know more. You could also implement some session programs. As what Jordan said, a safe space for them to, let them be heard, or let whatever they want to say come out. In our district, the different AY departments came together, and they had planned every Wednesday evening a youth connect. And this is where our young people will free their mind based on the topic in which the coordinators select, where they free their mind what they think about this topic, and then we'll have a discussion and, some leverage of guidance, from the elders that are there. And also youth leaders will guide them accordingly. So I think, some in the week program can work, but, not for long. As we say, some young persons have school, and some young people, have some chores to do in the evening. So we have to bear that in mind. Yes. Also, my last thing, programs. I'm taking everything you said, Jordan. Programs are, important. getting them involved in different activities, giving them a chance to lead out in different programs, giving them a chance to plan programs. As you said, Jordan, well, from our district, I can say a lot of young people had expressed their interest in doing some dramatization with church programs, and when it's Youth Day, they want to do a little skit. They want to keep a concert and have a little dramatization in it. Give them a chance, to lead out and plan these programs and see the outcome of it. If you see where they are as, the senior persons, you see where they are probably, going over the line, then you can draw them back and said, all right, look here, you can't go right this way because they're so dangerous. They're so dangerous. So you need to be careful. Right. So yeah, I mean, these things need to be in place, so that it can not only draw youth into the church, because this can be something that draws them in, but it keeps the ones that are there in, giving them something to do, giving them something to look forward to, and also giving them something to share, with them, their friends and their co-workers, their schoolmates. Yes. So those are my few shared points for today.
Thank you. Some persons are typing in the chat as you're going. Well, on the YouTube, persons highlighted the importance of making sure that you have that personal relationship with God, and I'm really happy for that. And that is key. Without that connection with God, that personal walk with Him, even if you try a lot of the things, it will not work if you do not have that desire and that drive to follow Jesus. So that is on the forefront. And thank you so much, Devon, for highlighting. Auntie Camille indicated, invite youth intentionally to Sabbath school, have a youth Bible class specific to the topics that our young people battle with. I have this book that I think is very good for Bible class. No, I don't know where to get it, but I'm just telling you what it is. It's called Difficult Questions That Young People Ask and Answers That Are Appropriate. So it says questions young people ask and answers that work. A very powerful book. And it's a Bible study on all the important questions that youth will generally ask when it comes down to relationship and sex and finances and so forth. We also see involve youth in evangelism and community outreach. I think it is very important that we do so. One comment here, also think most times, especially larger congregations, members need to be a little bit more friendly. That is how those who win souls are wise. And then it is important to share with persons that it is okay to make a mistake. It is not the end of the road and you can come back. Thank you so much, everybody. I will just join by saying, I think Jordan said it well. I think Tevon said it well. We need to have mentorship. We need to ensure that our young people are involved. We need to be creative with ministry, and more than anything else, we need to let people know that this is home and they can make mistakes, but the important thing is to remain committed. We are reminded by the word of God, young men, I call upon you because you're strong. We are reminded, do not let anyone despise you because of your youth. And I want for us to understand, and those who are online as well, or leaders that are watching and are listening, the importance of involvement is very key to helping our young people to feel a part of the mission that they're called to. I see Pastor Lincoln. He is ready and fired up to go as he shares his final comments with us as we prepare to go for this evening.
As it was in the beginning, so it shall be in the end.
Yes,
it was an absolute wonderful start to our program. Pastor, I was in the YouTube chat. I was all over looking at the comments, trying to see what persons are saying, engaging persons in the YouTube chat. And the devil is a liar, but a lie doesn't last forever. And so I would just like to thank everyone for participating this evening. I believe we had over 90 persons on YouTube, but we also had over 40 persons joining us on Zoom. And so we want to thank you so much for joining us for this, the very first episode of the Talk Up, Talk Out. We know that this is just the beginning. We have so much more in store for you. And so we will be looking to share that with you. We'll be touching on dating and relationships. We're going to get into so many topics, and I know that it will be an absolute blessing for you. I want to take the opportunity to thank Tevon Jackson and Jordan Brown for being with us this evening. And again, this is just the beginning. We'll be having so many other young persons joining us to share their thoughts. You heard them yourself. And I just want to encourage let your young people know about this. We want them on the platform. We want them on YouTube. We want to hear their voice. We are here to amplify the voice of the youth. And so give them that opportunity by letting them know that we're going to be here every Thursday at 7:30. So once again, I want to take the opportunity to thank, it was basically the host this evening, Pastor Dwayne Scott, Youth Ministries Director at Central Jamaica Conference, did an excellent job. And I know he'll be joining us evening after evening to share with us once more. Very important topics we're looking to discuss here on Talk Up, Talk Out, the youth, or the voice of the youth amplified. So join us next week at 7:30 as we'll have another stirring topic, other powerful guests, and of course, hearing from our youth. God bless you. See you next week.